Hello, I'm Brett Gilliland, host of the Circuit of Success podcast, and here's what's coming up on the show. You can see what your heart rate's doing, what it's doing for your stresses of your body, but for our listeners, what's the science behind this? Even if they don't say, I'm not going to go out and buy a cold plunge, like the actual tub thing, but I've got a bathtub at home, I can throw some cold water in there, throw some ice. What's the science that makes this successful for us?
Science? I mean, really what, to me, one of the big things that it's showing is it's lowering inflammation. Like that at the core thing. So everything that comes off of the lowered inflammation that's where we're optimized people. But the other cool stuff that it's showing is that it's actually raising our baseline dopamine levels.
Welcome to the Circuit of Success. I'm your host, Brett Gilliland. Today I've got Ryan Duey with me. Ryan, what's up, man?
Just hanging out at HQ here in Sacramento, California, and excited to dive in with you.
I love it, man. You are the co-founder of Cold Plunge and founder of Capital Floats, man. It's amazing, that Cold Plunge. I watch you guys on Instagram and social media and what you guys have done. We originally connected April 6th of 2021, and I think you said a lifetime's happened since then.
Man, yeah, when you said that, I was like, April 2021, we were, I think we were doing some of our first, like, quote-unquote celebrity drop-offs. I was like, from a facility standpoint, we've moved into, I think, 3 different facilities since then, just like scaling up and size-wise. So it's like I'm looking back like, wow, we were in this, little 3,000 square foot facility back then. Company's really grown up a lot in a lot of different ways. I mean, we're still very young, but in that last year and a half, it's been a wild ride. And we, went on Shark Tank since then. I mean, it's been a lot.
That's awesome, man. So how did that go? So talk to us about, before we go there, let's talk about Plunge and what your company is and what you guys are about. I mean, I think you'd have to be under a rock right now if people didn't know at least what this cold plunge was, or the ice bath, or the Wim Hof method, right? I mean, this stuff's everywhere, but you guys, in my opinion, have taken it to a whole nother level. And what you guys have, what your product is, it's amazing. Tell us a little bit about that, and we'll dive into all this other stuff.
Yeah, so us as a company, we launched September of 2020 out of my co-founder's garage. Just started building a few, emailed some of our other customer base. We started delivering those hand units in Northern California, and then the company has just kind of grown, like I was talking about earlier. We build, assemble, manufacture cold plunges. We ship them all over the world, mostly servicing the United States. But yeah, man, cold's having its moment. Like it's, Wim Hof definitely paved the way in making this a much more credible thing, not just some crazy person thing. And what's cool is like this isn't that radical of it. It's like people have been getting cold water for millennia. This is like a very like human thing, and now it's just technology's met some kind of ancient. It's like a new, ancient modality with a new technology, and that's what we've put together. And so cold's having its moment where people are using it, people are checking it out, and I think what's happening is it's hit a point where, yes, you have the Dr. Andrew Hubermans, the Rhonda Patricks that are doing, have done some studies. Some research is coming out, obviously what Wim's done, but now more people are doing it, and the actual like benefits are coming out firsthand. Like people aren't seeing the documentary of some one person doing it. Their neighbor's done it, and they're the neighbor's saying, dude, I'm doing this thing, and they're sharing their benefits, and it's a radical. The benefits that happen. I go through our reviews all the time. It's like we get these reviews every day, and I'm like, they blow my mind. They literally blow my mind into like the impact that cold water is having on people's lives of, whether it's disease or ailments they're facing, or just more of like a mental health, like making people be a better human, like a more happier, vibrant human.
And why is that, do you think? So, I mean, if those that haven't, let me just kind of paint this picture. I've done this numerous times. I'm terrible at it. It absolutely is horrific. It's painful. Let me back. It's not painful. It's uncomfortable. And but man, every time I've done it and I get out, it's like this euphoric feeling, right, that you have. But again, it's really, really tough to do, right? But so walk us through. I'm getting in your example, a tub, a cold plunge. Waters could be anywhere from 33 to 60 degrees, whatever it is that people like and prefer. I'd probably recommend starting a little warmer and backing your way in. I'd assuming you agree with that. So I would say, so imagine yourself getting in this bathtub full of ice or just really, really cold water and not being able to breathe for a while. Walk us through that, because I will tell you, not to name drop here, but this is a pretty well-known name. I was talking to Joe Buck, and he said of all the things that he has, getting into an ice bath like this is the one thing he does that he actually feels different when he gets out of it, right? Which I think that's a pretty big testimonial, is to say that I feel different. Because you may not feel different after you work out. You may not feel different after you take that vitamin or whatever it may be, but he said, I feel different. So what do you think about that?
I completely agree. I think it's one of the most unique modalities that you can get that mood, energetic, hormonal, chemical change in 2 to 3 minutes. It's like you could do deep breath work. If you want to go in and do some heavy breath work, you could feel different after, but you're exerting. That's a lot of energy. That's not everyone's doing that. Workout, I feel better after a workout if I go do a hard workout for 45 minutes to an hour. But again, I'm 45 minutes to an hour. I'm actively moving my body. It's like there's a lot of work that goes into it. A cold plunge is one of those, all you got to do is get in it. Like you said, it's hard, it's uncomfortable, and you have to be uncomfortable for the period of time that you're doing it. But you just got to get in it. I'm not asking you to swing a kettlebell. I'm not asking you to go boxing. I'm not asking you to do the craziest breath work you've ever done. It's just, you just got to get in there and find some level of comfort in the discomfort. And I think so I think to your original question, I think it's such a quick shift. You go from one state to the other. You're getting this massive dump of adrenaline into the body, but you're learning to kind of control it. You're getting when adrenaline fires up, your body fires up. You all your circuits turn on. Like you were in a fight, you would turn on, and that's how it is. But this is like in a very controlled environment, so you get this complete light up of the whole circuitry in your body, and your dopamine's just rushing in, and you go in, but you just lay there and you get it, and then you come out, and every single time you get this. You are on a euphoric mountain. Like that doesn't stop. I've been cold plunging every day for 2 years. And
does it get easier?
No,
no.
It does in the sense that, just like any habit that starts to get formed, you just build better consistency with it. My excuses, I still make excuses every day, and they are just a little less strong. I can see through them a little bit more. So, in the temp, I still adjust the temp here and there. Like I was down to 43, and I actually just upped it about a week ago to 45. And I play with my temps a little, and kind of where I'm at. I feel a lot on the plate right now, a little stressed out. And so I'm like kind of playing with my stress levels, because it is a stressor. It is something you want to be mindful of but it's one of those healthy stressors. Again, like Huberman talks about in some of these, it's like adrenaline's actually, like if we can control our adrenaline, that's actually like the major input for a high immune system. But it's like, you get a lot of people that are running on high red all the time, and then they go on the vacation and they get sick. It's like, well, they don't really have a balance of the parasympathetic and the sympathetic, which ultimately the nervous system, their body is in one or the other, but you kind of need to dance between the two. And cold plunging is that activation that allows you to get in that sympathetic state, but it will teach you to breathe and calm your breath down, lower your heart rate in a very intense environment. And you do that enough, the body starts to adapt to stressful situations.
Yeah, so talk to us about the science benefit behind it. Obviously, you or I don't think you are. I'm not a doctor. You're not a doctor, but there's plenty of science around it. I wear a Whoop every day. The Whoop's got ice bath as one of the exercises, if you will, that you can add. And so you can see what your heart rate's doing, what it's doing for your stresses of your body. But for our listeners, what's the science behind this? Even if they don't say, I'm not going to go out and buy a cold plunge, like the actual tub thing, but I've got a bathtub at home. I can throw some cold water in there, throw some ice. What's the science that makes this successful for us?
Yeah, I think there's different levels to your consistency, how often you do it. You can get in a cold shower, and turn your shower cold and get that Um, that's gonna be a type. You, like you said, the trough and filling up with ice. You probably can't do it as consistent, but on a one-off, getting in there, getting into cold water, or you get a plunge type with a filtration system, and you can do it more often. Science, I mean, really, what to me, one of the big things that it's showing is it's lowering inflammation, like that at the core thing. So everything that comes off of the lowered inflammation is that's where optimized people. But the other cool stuff that it's showing is that it's actually raising our baseline dopamine levels. So, dopamine into um, we can receive dopamine from all different activities. It's the activities that are truly beneficial to us is when dopamine can actually play a factor and be a positive chemical for us. So that's going to be like your focus, your motivation. So when people come out of a cold plunge, it's like hear these comments all the time, like I feel not even just coming out. This is sustained. If you're doing this consistency, it's like I feel capable, I feel more confident, I feel more clear. Like that's dopamine talking in your body. So that to me is like a massive benefit for people. For me as a guy, 2 years ago, right when I was starting the company, really kind of it was a very stressful time in my life. That was, we were 6 months into the COVID world. I had all my blood work done. My testosterone levels were in the dump, like really, really low. Only thing I changed, I did cut out stress, but then I cold plunged. I added cold plunge in my life. I cold plunged every day, raised that by 70%. So
Wow.
like
Just by doing that, 2 or 3 minutes a day and cutting out the stress, of course.
That was just a very natural way that I tested exactly almost a year later, and that had increased. So for me, that was a huge one. My immune system, I tested that. That was a really unique one. I had my true age. I'm 36. My immune system within my body, through the testing, was at 30 years old. So that to me was like another sign of like having a really healthy, robust immune system. Another cool one. I did a video recently on Instagram about this, but there was a study out of Sweden that came out, and it was using cold exposure as a cancer treatment. And this study was basically looking at, and it had been kind of interesting. No one had really studied it for a while, but they were saying basically cancer lives off of glucose. So it lives off of sugar. A high sugar diet is, it's a big cause of cancer. If you have cancer, you don't want to be taking sugar in. That's what feeds the cancer cells. Anyways, by activating the brown fat, one of the fastest ways to activate our brown fat, which is like it's what babies have. It gives us our big energy. By activating the brown fat within our body, cold water is one of the fastest ways to turn that on within our body. A lot of us have that suppressed. Well, anyways, when you turn on the brown fat within our body, that just starts sucking up glucose. So they found it actually as a suppression. They started in mice, and they tested mice in cold conditions and non-cold conditions with cancer. They had like it was like a 70% reduction in tumors in the cold mice to the non, and then they brought it into humans, and they saw the very similar thing. And an asterisk with this is that was with a sugar-free diet. So again, it's sucking up the glucose in the system, but you also don't want to be putting sugar back into your body.
Right.
So with that again, but that study just came out, and they were like, we are actually at a spot where we would recommend this as a treatment for cancer. Like,
wow,
that's a massive statement. So, we all have cancerous cells in our body. It's at what point is it become like a major impact in our body? So I look at this as it's a great way of prevention in its own way. Whether you have cancer, you're not like diagnosed with it or not, it's a great way in our body to, have a healthy cellular level.
Yeah.
So, I mean, those are a number of it. I think also, like, this isn't really, I mean, there is science on this more that I can't articulate as well, but it really just teaches us to be calm in stress. Stress is Western world. We have a lot of stress. We have a lot of things coming into us and inputs. And, you've been in the cold plunge. You kind of said, I'm not great at it, but it's like you do it, you start to learn how to just, okay, how do I lower that heart rate in this situation? Because you're not going to get many more environments that are that intense on your body into how your body's going to respond to it. And so I call it a jungle or a gym for your nervous system. We go to the gym to get our muscles strong. Well, you get in a cold plunge to get your nervous system regulated and learn how to control that and get back into more of a, a homeostasis that between those, what they call the parasympathetic and sympathetic systems.
But even the workout, though, you talked about doing a 45-minute workout. You talked about reducing inflammation. I mean, it's also going to speed up your recovery time for 100%. Soreness, right?
That is massive. It's funny. It's like you just brought that up, and I wasn't even thinking that. And that's like one of the biggest. I look at that. It's probably the most like known, but I almost put it down as like 6th or 7th. Like you're going to get that. You're going to get these muscle recoveries. You're going to get the inflammatory reduction. There is an interesting conversation here though of like people cold plunging, like, do you do this right after your workout? And I think that's an interesting, it's kind of the one subject matter it's a little debatable right now of like, do you do it right after? Because you do want that inflammatory response after lifting weights. You want your muscles to have a reaction to that. It's kind of what you're doing. You're tearing them down and then they grow back stronger. So there is this talk that getting in cold water immediately after could reduce that, could reduce some of the gains that are out there. So anyone listening, if you're like super into working out and like strength gains, I would, try and go maybe 2 hours after a workout, getting into a cold plunge. And my caveat with that, and I would put myself in this category. I like to work out. I'm a kind of, self-proclaimed athlete, but not training for anything special. My goal is to get up and work out again tomorrow. So, I'm not as concerned of maximizing every gain. I want to feel good. Yes, I want to build strength, but I also want to recover and be ready for tomorrow. So that's not an area that I'm concerned. That's more of like, let's say bodybuilders or maybe even pro athletes into what they're trying to, I would say pro athletes not in season. I don't think it's as big of a deal, but pro athletes out of season, they're trying to maximize. They might want to put in a couple hours between a workout and a cold plunge. Yeah.
So what do you think about from a cold therapy versus heat therapy? I have an infrared sauna at my home. I believe in it. I love it. I sweat. It feels great. I mean, what do you like between the cold versus the hot therapy?
Yeah, I love them both. I'm not an expert in the heat side of it, of what it's exactly doing to the body. I mean, there's just the actual, what I love about heat is I love doing, like we now have a sauna at our facility here at headquarters, and it's become this like ritual. Everyone to get off work and everyone gets in the sauna. It's like the greatest thing to like sit in there and you're sweating, and it's like you have really good talks. So it's like outside of the science and actually what it's doing, I think it's a great community piece to like go and do a sauna with someone. Invite a friend over and connect that way. I mean, heat. Yeah, there's if you're going to mix them both, that's like a very active recovery day. So I would like anyone that's like doing cold plunging and saunas, or just even, that's still a big metabolic process on your body. Like your body is going through kind of an intensity. So I want people to know it's like that's a calorie crunch. That's like, there's an intensity to that. So it's a great way to do it on a recovery day. But, I mean, I think heat is, there's plethora of benefits. I think Ron Patrick's probably the kind of leader in that space. Yeah.
Yeah. I did cryotherapy for the first time about 2 weeks ago. And man, I mean, that was like, I did it for, I can't remember, was it 3 minutes maybe? I think it was 3 minutes. I thought I was going to die the first minute. I'm like literally, and then I get out 3 minutes later, I had to walk down these stairs. My legs wouldn't bend. But again, that same euphoric feeling kind of came about after that. Yes. And it felt, so I went from there straight to a steam room, straight to a sauna. And it was a phenomenal recovery day. My wife and I did it together on our anniversary, and it was kind of like a little day date, and it was incredible. So same kind of thing with cryotherapy.
You had to feel so, I mean, I love steam after cold.
Yeah.
Steam room after the cold is just this like magical.
Oh, it was, man. We like had lunch. So again, cryotherapy, steam rooms, and then infrared sauna. And then we did this lunch at this place we were at. I'm like, oh my God, this is unbelievable. This feels amazing. Then you eat healthy. I'm like, I'm feeling good about myself. But we could talk about this stuff all day, man. And I on my research, I saw that you called a head-on motorcycle accident your greatest gift. Talk about that, man.
Yeah, I had that about 10 years ago. It'll be 10 years this December 30th. I was out in Thailand. Was out traveling with a buddy, head-on collision 2 nights or the night before New Year's Eve. Um, Ended up spending about 3 weeks out in a Thai hospital with kind of reconstructive jaw and surgery, a pretty big concussion, head, amongst other injuries. And anyways, it was just one of those moments that like as soon as I came back
Yeah.
to like from my concussion that night, I remember turning to my buddy. I was like, "It's the best thing I needed." And it was just one of those moments of like, I don't really know why I said that at that time, but I sensed that this was going to be this major opportunity to, um, just go like a deeper look into my life. What do I want out of life? Like, kind of, I wasn't in a bad place. I enjoyed my work that I was doing. I was happy with who I was as a person, but it just accelerated some things that I wanted to do in life that were kind of set off into the future. And it shook me and put me on a course that, kind of where my life's at today.
And so he had I'm saying a quote unquote normal job, because I think you would agree with me now as an entrepreneur, as a founder of a company, it's a little bit not normal, right? It's not your go to work at 8 and get off at 5 and go home and not think about it. You think about it 24/7, 365.
Totally.
And so was that a catalyst for you to start these things? Like, you're the founder of Capital Floats, which again, we didn't even talk about, but is the floating, you set in a pod, it's got the, and you would explain it better than I, but you started that, and then you were the co-founder of Plunge, for these cold plunges. And so was that the journey, that thing that made you go do that, or what was it?
Totally. It was. I worked for the San Jose Earthquakes in professional soccer. Cool gig. Kind of a middle management position there. I loved it. I really enjoyed it. Anyways, I came out. I had really wanted to go down to the jungles of Peru. This was like this big adventure that I had wanted to do, to actually sit and work with ayahuasca. It's a psychedelic medicine that's probably been heard of these days, a little more common, but back then it was a very kind of taboo. Like, not many people were talking about it. It was really weird it was really uncomfortable even bringing it up to a lot of the people in my circle. Anyways, that was an experience that I had really been wanting to do, but I just like, oh, you'll do that later in life. And anyways, this accident was like, no, you're going to go do that. Like, that was it. And I got into a float tank to kind of heal my body from some of the injuries that I had faced from that accident. When I got back to the US, I had to kind of work through that. I had to go into my recovery mode. So I started floating, but I was also going to float for more of an introspection, kind of connect to myself. Like, I'm going to go down to the jungle, do this very kind of like interpersonal work down there. And I was like, I'm going to spend some time in a float tank. And so that was the start. And then very quickly in the float tank, it was like, oh my God, like, I love being around this facility and this environment. It started less as like a great, awesome business idea, and more of, I would just love to create this environment and be in it all the time and be around these people. It was like, I wanted to build this community. And so that was that, very early doing that, it came to me, I wanted to start this company, but I didn't act on it for about a year and a half. I went down to the jungle, had a, say the least, mind-blowing experience, and just really learned a lot about myself. And, coming back, and I thought I was going to go down there, quit my job, and go start a float center. Well, I got down to the jungle, and it was like, no, your job's the least of our worries right now. We're going to do some other things to work on. So anyways, I came back, stuck around with the Quakes for about, and then I started Cap Floats 6 months later, moved to Sacramento. And that was kind of the beginning of the entrepreneurial journey. And that was a crazy road, because that's how I met Mike. Mike's the co-founder with me with Plunge. He's the inventor of the product. He owns Reboot Float and Cryo, and he has a very similar story. It's very wild. And, he opened exactly 1 year before me in the Bay Area, and I was in Sacramento. We just became these float brothers, like, not many float centers around, and we start hanging out, and then we become best buds. And then he just happened to move to Sacramento in April of 2020. And he starts like, we got some time. Businesses are shut down. California. It's like, this is
right.
Close your doors. Like, everyone go home. And so, he starts setting out, building this product. He's a, world-class engineer, and starts, building this product in the garage. And, so it's definitely like this whole journey of like, you talk about that accident, taking it back there. It was definitely, it's just interesting how these experiences can, you have no clue how it's going to play out.
Right.
But you make these declarations, you make these commitments that, and just change the whole trajectory. And I sit here now, and it still blows me away sharing this story of like, wow, all the kind of synchronistic things that happen along the way.
Yeah, but don't you think you also got to be kind of be mindful and paying attention and be willing to take the risk? Because I would assume it would be easier to stay with the soccer team, get a normal job, get a normal paycheck every 2 weeks, probably some health insurance, probably a 401k, but to trust your gut, leave that, go to the uncertain, and build something. And maybe it works. Maybe you sell a ton of them. Maybe you don't.
I agree. I think the first one's the hardest. Like when you
Yeah.
don't know what's on the other side, I think that, but as I've gone, to me, it's a bigger risk to not do the thing. Like, what you're getting right now. Like, I know what my life is right now. Like so that's kind of what I think that's the biggest thing I've learned. But yes, I think it's really difficult. You could be in a job, you make 100K, and it's like, you got health insurance. It's like, man, that's a good life. Like,
right.
And there's nothing wrong. Like, that's great if that works and but there's always sometimes people with that other itch of like, but it's scary when you kind of have those, it's things are comfortable and things are stable. But I think as I've gone, it's like, that's just not true. Like there's, like we adapt to the next thing. You don't just go here to 10 steps down the road. You just take the next step of the direction you want to go, and life you'll adapt. We all adapt. That's what we're really good at as humans.
That's right. Yeah, we are. But I'm going to be cold plunging tonight. Speaking of soccer, I'm going St. Louis has an MLS team starting in here in the next season. And so they have a first game ever. Their MLS St. Louis City 2, like I guess I call it their minor league team, is playing tonight. So it'll be about 29 degrees about game time, and it'll be outdoors, nice and cold plungy for about an hour and a half, 2 hours tonight. But
that'll be great. I'm excited for that club to go out there. I mean, the stadium looks incredible.
Yeah.
I think it's well funded. Team looks like it's coming together well. I'm impressed with what they're doing out there.
Yeah, we're excited. So your mission is to make cold plunging as common as coffee. I read that. I love that. My mission, as you can see here on my microphone, the future greater than your past. That's what I want to wake up and do every single day, is help people have a future greater than the past. I think that's what you're doing through Cold Plunge. But your mission is to make cold plunging as common as coffee. How are you doing that? So let's kind of get in the weeds a little bit from the business standpoint. If I follow you around from a business standpoint, what am I seeing you do day in and day out to follow your mission?
Yeah, I mean, more, are you asking personally or more from a company level?
For me, I see it both, right? You are the person that's in the company. Obviously, there's people around you, there's team, there's employees, but you've got to do something to drive business every day and drive the mission of cold plunging as common as coffee.
I think from a real practical company level, we've really tried to find partners that are aligned with our mission and values. So, when I say that, it's like influencers. Like, who are the people out there that we think are putting really good content out there that are impacting people they're connected to? And I think we've done well. And that's just a big part of what we do. Like, how do we tell a story? I think that's the other piece to it, is like, we are shifting a bit as a company. Like, everything's very focused on the 2 to 3 minute plunge experience. It's cool. It looks good. It's and it works. But we're really focused on, like, why do you cold plunge? Like, why would you get in that bath and feel uncomfortable for 3 minutes? And it's like, well, maybe you want more energy with your kids. Maybe you want to be a better father. Maybe you want to, more intimacy with your wife. So testosterone, it's like, what are the stories we're trying to tell? Like, maybe you have mental anxiety is a massive thing. We just did a piece with a woman that got off prescription medication, and because she wanted to, and she started plunging, and she plunges 2 times a day, and this is what she does. And so it's like,
that's incredible.
It's really, it's incredible. So it's, I think for us, like, what are we doing day out? We're trying to tell the story of how we're still in this realm of education, and it is still such a blue ocean. Like, yes, people have heard about it, but most people don't have a cold plunge. I mean, not even most, like almost every single person.
You're
doesn't
absolutely
have
right.
one.
I mean, it's very, very few, right? And I feel like I'm in this world to where I see that, and I don't hardly know anybody that has one.
Exactly.
But I'm hearing more in the last even 6 months of the normal person talking about cold plunging that you didn't hear a year ago or 2 years ago.
And I think that's where it's going. It's obviously a bigger purchase. It's not something you just would add, like on a whim. You'd go
Yeah.
purchase it. So people need to be sold. Like, why am I actually going to use this? Like, is this really worth $5,000 to go impact my life? And what's really cool is like we get people that purchase, and yes, that is a big purchase. You save for it, or however, whatever it is to you in your life. It's rare. I mean, almost non-existent where that is. It's like we get the testimonies of like, can't believe I didn't do this sooner. Can't believe I did. I was questioning this. Like the stories are, and that's what fuels me. I mean, every day it's like running a business, it's like there's challenges, there's all sorts of things that come, and then I go check our reviews, and literally that's what I do, and it's like, okay, this is cool. This is why we got into this whole thing.
Yeah. What's your favorite story? Any of them come off top of mind, or maybe some recent ones that was like kind of a mind blower for you?
Jeez. Well, there's one cool one we had. I mean, we hired this guy recently. His name's Michael. He's come onto our team really recent. Anyways, he has multiple sclerosis and he MS. So he major autoimmune disorder, and he started cold plunging. Has completely got it under control. Come to find out, he locally with us. He was like blown away that the company was in his backyard. He got a job with us. He's been on with a couple months, and he's like a rock star. And it's like this, and he's like on mission of his life. And it's like, to me, that's just one of the coolest. It's just, I see it every day. I see him in here every day. I did that cancer post. I did that thing on Instagram. I had a number of people make comments on there of like it was almost like, we've been doing this. Like, we've been getting in cold water and my cancer just went into remission. Like, that was a cool one. We had a guy, we've had a number of like COVID long haulers that like really struggling, like really having some long-term issues, like, no medication, in studies. They've come out of it into, I've never, just having my cold plunge for this short window of time, I've seen these results that I hadn't gotten from my Whoop scores. My Whoop scores are now in the green. That's a massive one. We're doing a study right now with about 30 people. We're getting all their levels tested prior, and then they're plunging for 90 straight days. And then they're getting all their blood work done again. We're just starting to get some of the first group coming through, so we'll have more of a release of what's going on there. But life-changing testimonies of what these people are sharing of, things that are happening for them. I mean, I could talk
And
about
not much other stuff changing in their life. Like literally they're eating the same, they're exercising the same, they're drinking alcohol the same or coffee the same, whatever, right? They're doing all that. And just this one addition is life-changing.
And it's one of those that it's a ripple, it's like plunging's a great way. It doesn't have to be the ultimate, you're so far down your fitness journey and now you start cold plunging. Like, cold plunging could be one of the first things in your fitness journey. Yeah. And it could actually accelerate all your other stuff that you're working on. It's great for metabolism and fat loss. And your days are different when you cold plunge. So it's going to set you on a little different trajectory of maybe saying no to the thing that you've been struggling with, or, it's not a cure all. Definitely don't want to sell it as that, but it is a great, I see it as, the story I want to tell is like, this is a great starter point for people on a fitness journey, not someone that's already kicking ass on fitness.
Yeah. Yeah. So last few questions here. And, so if I followed Ryan Duey around, what am I seeing on your habits from a personal development side, from maybe a personal growth side, like personal development, but also exercise and business habits? What am I seeing kind of no miss items that happen every day for you?
Yeah, I think it's cold plunging. I have a trainer that this has been a huge hack for me. Grateful I can do it. I have a trainer that shows up at my house every morning now. So that's been like first thing in the morning. I have that.
And they've got a different plan for you. You're going to do this weight, you're going to do this cardio thing, you're going to do that movement type deal.
Yep, he rocks it for me, and it's one of those that I always feel like we have so much brain power a day, and I like to put it all to Plunge and some of my personal life,
Yeah.
and weights is something that's like I just show up and he puts me through it, and I do my
Yeah.
workout. So that's a key piece to me. Um, and then
And sorry to interrupt, but that allows you, you believe, so the plunge and then you're working out, that allows you to be a better, founder of a company and a better leader, a better whatever in your personal life.
Totally, man. It's one of those. It's just those wins. Mornings are such a crucial time. I kind of can slug around in the mornings. Mornings can be tough for me. Well, it's just like I'm accelerated. I'm accountable. I have a trainer that's there. I got to get out of bed.
Yeah.
The plunge. 3 minutes in there, boom, I'm ready to go. Like, so those two things are essential. Business like groups. I just joined like an executive coaching group that was. Yeah, I'm real excited on, and kind of some other founders in e-com, health and wellness space. So that's kind of a spot for me. Mike and I really work hand, it's nice to have a co-founder so I could really bounce, we co-CEO the company. So bounce a lot of stuff off of him. And then, yeah, I mean, outside of that, like the days can fluctuate, I'd say if we're looking at my actual calendar, Tuesday, Wednesday, these days are packed, from basically 9 a.m. I don't book anything before 9. It's like a big thing for me. It's kind of like my time that I work, and then but 9 to 5 is I'm locked in, and then I like to leave like Mondays and Fridays more for creative days. That's when I'm working more on the storytelling I'm talking about, partnership conversations. So it's kind of how the current flow of the week is, and I'm always adapting and trying to evolve it a bit more.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. So where do our listeners find more of you? Where do our listeners find more of your company Plunge? Where can we find that?
Yeah, Plunge, just you type in Cold Plunge, which should show up, but thecoldplunge.com is the domain. We're on Instagram as or just type in Cold Plunge, we'll pop up. I mean, anywhere you type in Cold Plunge, we should show up.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing. The company's called Plunge. We're actually going through a bit of a rebrand right now to kind of really bring clarity on that, because we've been caught, it's like people don't know, are they the Cold Plunge, or Plunge? So company name Plunge, but type in Cold Plunge, will show up. And then, we have, for me personally, Ryan Duey on Instagram. It's kind of where I'm most active. I have a podcast called The Journey with Ryan Duey. So that's going. If you can find that on, Spotify, Apple, wherever that's at.
Awesome.
So yeah, those are the spots, and yeah.
I love it, man. So last question for you. You got this person listening right now. They need a little pep talk. They need a pep talk, man. They need the locker room speech. They need to get fired up to go out for the second half of their life. What are you telling that person that maybe you wish you knew 10 years ago? What advice are you telling them on how to bet on themselves and in areas like that?
I mean, and I'm going to talk to myself right now. It's like, what are you waiting for? Like, whatever the thing is that you even think you want to go do, like, literally this could end tomorrow. Like, it could end tomorrow, and it's all gone. And whatever you think you have to lose, it's never quite what you think. Like, if you got a family, like, the biggest thing would struggle is if your kids didn't see you go after something. Like, that's something I always think about, like with my family that I grew up in. And the last piece that I say to anyone that like is questioning, like, do I know enough? Am I there? What is it? It's like having been and talking to some very high level, it's like nobody knows what the hell's going on. Like, and everyone's just figuring it out. The person you admire, the person you think has it all figured out, they're just figuring it out as they go. Like, they might think they have this incredible plan, but nobody actually knows what's going on. And anyone that thinks they have the best plan, they're just adapting as they go. So I say that more as an encouragement to not get like caught up into this perfectionism place. Like, that's just the game. You're going to go figure it out, and you can go figure it out.
Amen, brother. Amen to that. Well, Ryan, it's been awesome having you on the Circuit of Success podcast, man. And you're ever in the St. Louis area, you stop by. We'll go take a cold plunge.
I'm gonna be
somewhere.
out there.
When?
I'm gonna actually be out there next weekend. That's crazy.
Well, you look me up, man. Let's connect. We'll after we record here, we'll connect here for a minute. But man, it's been awesome having you on the Circuit of Success, brother.
Awesome, man. Appreciate it.